Our first speaker is Paul Copsey. Paul is course manager at Langley Park Golf Club in Kent. For many years, Paul was the senior buyer of equipment and materials for American Golf UK and then Crown Golf, two of the largest multi-course owners of golf courses in the UK and Europe. As regional and group courses manager, he directed the agronomic planning, maintenance and golf course management practices across all of the golf courses and maintained a direct daily input at selected clubs, as well as being a member of the company's executive management team. With experience in general management, golf course acquisitions and golf businesses planning, Paul has significant experience and expertise in the specifying, negotiating and purchasing of turf equipment and maintenance products. He's here to talk to you about evaluating the course maintenance budget, deliver course quality and how to come in on target. Please welcome Paul to the stage.
Thank you. All right, morning everybody. Nice to see everybody here. Thanks for that glowing introduction. I hope that I can impart some of the other ideas that are away from the golf course to you today. As a little exercise in two ways, maybe an existing course that you're working, maybe there's a few ideas you could look at the course with some fresh eyes. Maybe you've just stepped into a new role or you've been promoted, and maybe a few little exercises that you could do that might help you with your future role. So, get into the nitty-gritty, maybe some of the obvious things that we take for granted every day, but maybe you just need to look at slightly differently. Look at my golf course and being realistic. You might get to a new property and go, how old is it? What's its build style? You know, is it a 1920s golf course with small bunkers, slopes? Are you at a new sort of 90s kind of build, sand-based greens? You know, there's going to be different costs and attitudes to how you maintain the golf course. Is there environmental factors? You know, what type of golf course is it? Heathland? Is it a links course? Is your course currently achieving its goals? For the customer and as a business. A lot of golf courses, certainly that I've visited many years ago, was for the purposes of acquisitions. Normally that business had failed for some reason or another, and that could be the fact that it might have been in the wrong place. The build might have been poor. There may have been no chimney pots near the golf course that was a pay and play. So be realistic about your golf course, step back, have a look at what its abilities are. You may see, if you're looking around your golf course, hand on heart, are there any obvious resource issues? That can be another maybe threat to the golf course. Is there potential? I used to love going to golf courses that were acquiring, that were owned by maybe a dreamer to start with, but did it really have potential? Had it failed because his dream was beyond what he wanted it to do as a business? And one of the things we used to do was a SWOT analysis. Very, very simple. Look at its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Even at your own club at the moment, as a little exercise, think of all the things that are good about your club and the things that maybe are threatening it. It's a really good way of looking at things with a fresh eye. So when you're thinking about, you're the manager, you have to plan the maintenance. You may have a blank piece of paper. Hopefully we can fill a few things in on there. Come up with a specification. We hear a lot about sort of policy documents at golf clubs. Really that's more to do with maybe what the club wants, but you should have a specification. Either longhand, you could write down all the things you need to maintain that turf. You need to meet the expectations of your customer, your club member. But one of the things I think we may have missed or over the last few years that we got into this sort of cycle of responsible maintenance and everything else, but some of it has to be within financial realities. And sometimes we all think about our turf and what we can do to it, but at the end of the day, as we just heard, if the business isn't successful, there's no money coming in, we won't be able to carry on. You can write a longhand document, that can be sort of 15 pages of longhand, what am I going to do? And it can be a simple chart or a plan, and that's, where I've sort of come in over the years. Certainly with American Golf years ago, we saw lots of documentation. That can be very heavy, but if you can condense that down into simple charts that everyone can understand, it's a real sort of help. But the first part of that plan is, it's okay writing these things down, but you need to cost them out. They're going to cost you money. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Often with these events, I find that there's a lot of sort of cross-integration of sort of seminar sessions and things you can learn. So I would sort of recommend that certainly for most people, one of the things I did many, many years ago when we first had big computers with big screens and stuff like that, I put myself on an Excel course. One of the best things I ever did. There are sort of dedicated programs that help, with course maintenance, but you can do a lot of this stuff on your own using Excel with some simple charts. And here we have just a simple chart of maybe a year plan for my greens. What am I going to use? How often am I going to do jobs? And it starts the basis of the products I want to buy and how I'm going to put together my budget. So very, very simple. It can just be making marks on a sheet. And from there you can make a summary maybe of the 6 things that you might specially look at every month of the year. But it's your plan, but that's what's going to start you off with how you're going to put together your budget. So having a plan is just the start. And if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. You need to start looking at measuring all your turf areas, greens, tees, fairways, because it's directly proportional to all your inputs. You can be as complicated or as simple as you like. On my desk, I've got a computer that I can look at GPS, and I've got a wheel behind my desk. I can go and measure stuff by hand. So you can use the old-fashioned method. There's lots of satellites up there. You might as well use them to help you as well. And there's lots of apps you can get on your phone now for simple GPS measuring. So until you start measuring your golf course and you know what you're going to do to it, you haven't really got a starting point. You need to get the starting points. The other thing to consider is, as you move on, your labour input, a man-hour study. We all have maybe different levels of staffing at our clubs. We maintain courses in different way. Some courses naturally lend themselves to being maintenance friendly. Other courses, like the old 20s designs, clubs that are 100 years old, not so friendly to maintain. So, to look at all those things when you put that into your year plan. You cannot budget without knowing exactly what you need. So I would say one of the big things is make sure you measure your golf course. As an industry, I think it would be fair to say that without that, we can be subject to wasting money, material and manpower. And obviously that has an impact on the environment as well. I've been into lots of clubs where there's been lots of excess stock that's out of date, gone off. What do we do with it? So again, it has an impact on the environment. As I said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Doing man-hour studies is a fairly simple exercise. Many years ago, it used to be a time and motion study. Lots of local authorities used to do them. But just look again at your plan. Look at the types of things you do on your golf course and put some man-hours to it. How often do you do it? Do you need to do certain jobs more than others because there's a customer expectation? I've got a similar thing at my club now where this year we bought a turf iron. They'd never had a turf iron before. One of our goals is to speed the greens up. So therefore, a customer-driven aspect of our man-hour planning is we need to now factor in the rolling of the greens, and there's a cost to that. So again, things can be customer-driven. Look at our seasonality. Are there times of day you need to do stuff? Do you need more man-hours in the morning than in the afternoon? Do you want to do afternoon mowing and less in the mornings? It's entirely up to you. You're the manager. You're making the plan. Days of the week. I think we all traditionally maybe suffered, and you've probably all heard in the bar, the greenkeepers work Monday to Friday, they do nothing at the weekend. Well, we know we do it early and they don't see us doing it. But again, into your plan, are there things that you could do for your sort of customer that maybe pays the most at weekends? What's my minimum labour requirement? That's the other aspect of business. Labour is probably your highest cost, so therefore making sure you've got the right amount of labour and maybe knowing your absolute minimum is well worth knowing. How do I manage overtime? Like I said, there's lots of out-of-hours work for us, isn't there? Do I need to mix up the skill of my team? I sort of liken it to, I won't sort of go into my likes on football teams, as you probably don't know who plays for Charlton Athletic, but if I took like a Tottenham, Harry Kane might be a great centre forward, he's maybe not so good at left back, right back or in goal. And within all our teams there's people that are specialists at certain things. How do I mix that team up? Do I need to train everybody to the same level? As we've just heard, we look at things as a career. You're all here because you're career minded. Other people, maybe it's just a job. They may not need that extra level of training to complete, their tasks. Their view is different. So again, simple Excel chart, love my Excel spreadsheets. Man-hour study, the task, how many times a week you do it, how long it takes you at your club, working out the man-hours, adding them all up. So we come up with a weekly total. So it's quite straightforward. I just find that Excel helps me get it in my head right. So labour, simple time and motion study. How long does it take to carry out the task? Do a summer and winter schedule. Obviously that helps. We're seasonally different in what we do. Identify your weekend requirements. As I said, certainly at my club, we need to add in rolling of greens. At some clubs I've been to, the pressure may be, can we rake bunkers at weekends? That's a customer-driven thing. They may be asking you the question. You need to work out how much that's going to cost them. A couple of different ways of doing it. I know this used to come up in one of my former companies. Time off in lieu against paying for overtime. Toil we used to work well at some of the big clubs that have high staff numbers. Certainly with American Golf, they used to like the fact that every week you sort of paid, or month you paid the same salary without the fluctuations of overtime. But the downside is that you give people time back off. I mean, maybe they didn't want it, so it works both ways. A time off in lieu or a overtime payment system. That's for you to find out, work out. And again, that mix of skill set in your team. Flexibility, we all know we need to be flexible. We're working outside, different conditions. It could be wet, it could be dry. Demand times. Other industries, and you'll get this if ever you work for a proprietor, because they're often running food and beverage businesses, they'll instantly think, greenkeeping, there's a team. Do we flex them up and down? Do they work different hours? There'll be questions that you'll be asked, and maybe we need to sometimes take on board how other industries work, because we are a business. So again, that question of does everybody need to be trained the same, if it's a career or if it's a job? I'm just throwing that one out there. So again, that's part of that training. One of the things we do need to do is understand our staff, appraising them, identify their individual goals, their skill sets. What do they need to be trained upon? You may have a guy that doesn't need to be trained to be a level 3 or level 4 greenkeeper. Maybe he needs to be a fantastic chainsaw operator with all the qualifications for that. It's your team you're building together. Labour will represent about 70% of your total budget, therefore it's important to manage it. So getting into the nitty-gritty of budgets, what do I need to buy and where should I buy it? Because this is the year plan first, we know what we're going to do. And this is part of taking charge of our budget. because we know what we're going to do. We've measured our golf course. Because of our turf knowledge, we should start to be able to work out what we want. Use research. You're here this week, internet, brochures, speaking to representatives. This is where you're first looking at maybe your shopping around, in your role. Maybe there's certain people you want to go to, maybe certain companies have certain products that you want. But you need to start building your budget projection. I don't know if any of you are let loose at Tesco's by your other halves. It's always quite interesting to see the different way that I come back with different stuff to what my wife comes back from the shops with. Maybe just because she's pretty good at making stuff and I'm not. Mine's mainly ready meals, but hers is other good stuff. But, we all have needs and different ways of looking at it. It's your job to maybe put your shopping list together for your club. One of the things that I used to do, because I used to be a bit of an anorak, I used to compare products. Obviously, we're here this week. There's loads of suppliers downstairs. One of the things we used to start with may be, if I want to apply a fertiliser to greens, I'll look at all the different companies' products, their nutrient analysis, their application rates, their inputs of nutrient, and then I put the price down and the bag size to work out what my cost per hectare application was for cost. Because a lot of things that you do, you can't compare apples with apples. So you need to try and start taking out the variables. And I still do this for many products where I can look at a product from one company to another and start really comparing. If I want to get that amount of nutrition down for the job I want to do at my club, what's it going to cost me? And I may not always choose the cheapest. It's not a race to the bottom line. Because of your thought process at your club that maybe wants a higher quality standard, you may find a product that suits you, that fulfills your goal, that isn't the cheapest. But that's up to you. You're the manager. You can do that exercise for fungicides, herbicides, wetting agents. So you can adapt that for all of them. I have a sheet for nearly all those products. So again, that looking at supplier ranges, you're here this week, that's fantastic. Hopefully you'll be now walking around downstairs with a little bit of an attitude of going, I need to be careful on how and when and why I purchase. What the choices am I going to make? Again, you can build a budget sheet in Excel, align it to your year plan. Maybe do this before you go to market. So you could maybe come up with a year plan by month, choose your product, work out for your golf course the size, the cost of the product you're going to put down. You end up with something that looks like that tells you to look after my greens, generically, I need to find that amount of money with those products. That's my basis. It's very, very simple, really, if you think about it. You've made the shopping list, if you like. You've got the golf course, you know what you need to do, but you've got it down on paper that you can see, and it starts to tell you different things. Suppliers and tendering. One of the things I used to do with a bigger company, obviously we used to get chased around by quite a few suppliers who probably thought we had loads of money, but we were actually the opposite, because the bottom line mattered to us as well as the product to the customer. It was really, really important that we kept our margins correct. So we used to run sort of tendering exercises. And it does work for standalone golf clubs. I use it now in my new role, and not just for the sake of making a saving, it's made us more efficient. We've reviewed all our suppliers and we use like a more of a mathematical approach to our purchasing. One of the things I will say, I didn't realise that when I put this together, there's some slides from here that I made some years ago. So I didn't realise they'd be politically sensitive, but I'm sure you'll spot them when we come to them. So tendering, you're in control. That's one of the things I'm saying. So the people you are dealing with, when you pick one or two suppliers? Are your products tested? Are the staff qualified to sell them to you? Is there a consistency of supply? If you've got a long-term program, you don't want to deal with people that maybe are working in the short term. You may not be able to get that product next year. One thing to think about. Delivery. Sometimes you could have the cheapest product in the world, they charge you delivery charges. Doesn't help you, you've not budgeted for that. Maybe there's some add-ons you can get with working with someone. Do they supply free training? Do they do soil analysis? Do they provide waterproofs? It's something that you might want to think about if you pick a supplier. Maybe choose 3 suppliers. Treat each one the same, be fair with them. Describe exactly what you want or expect from them. We actually worked on a basis of why don't we get them to do the work? You give them a generic model of what you want to do. See how they come back to you. How professional are they? How knowledgeable are they? And the other thing is that it tells them that you are the manager and you are in charge of the situation. Let them do the work. They should be able to match their products to your desires. See how professional they are. One thing that surprised me when I first started doing this was how surprised I was that some companies completely failed to understand. They wanted to sell us more and more product, but not what we wanted. So again, beware, try and take charge of the situation. Maybe you'll find 2 best suppliers. You'll start to see how their ideas work into your budget plan. You may actually find that your budget can go down because they're now doing the hard work to get your business. So you could select a supplier. We used to look at it on paper, then get them in to do a presentation. Then you find out really how professional they are and what they can do for you. But be honest with them, you know, they're in competition. All those guys downstairs exhibiting are competing with each other. So let them, you know, work for you. So you might start using the products. Doesn't mean to say you're going to stay with them forever. You need to make sure that the stuff is working for you. Have meetings with your supplier, professional meetings, not just a cosy chat over a cup of coffee, but a meeting that looks at how your product's performing, how much you've bought, have there been any changes. Stick to your list. Often with products, what I do, you open the brochure, it's 25 pages long, they do thousands of products. Pick a short list and stick to it. And also you'll get better pricing once you stick to that short list. Monitor the product performance. Again, hopefully it's working because you've done your research. Sometimes products come onto the market, you may choose them, it's well worth monitoring how they perform. Are you getting the price benefits that you wanted from that product and the benefits on your turf? And when you're in a relationship with a supplier, is it working for everybody? It helps them because they can project their sales. They have to buy products off their suppliers. If they know you're going to buy X amount, it's a guarantee for them and a confidence to buy that product and hopefully keep your prices down. But one of the things I would say, be honest with people. Purchasing pitfalls. Stick to your plan. Avoid men with white vans. Drop it on your doorstep. I have the best products in sliced bread. The number of times I've seen people get derailed by that. Buying large volumes isn't necessarily saving money. It goes off, you don't use it all. I've done acquisition visits to clubs where you find huge banks of fertiliser and products at the back of the shed. One club that failed, I stock took it at £18,000 worth of fertiliser and people have been laid off and made redundant. Bad management. Just get what you need when you need it. Because you've measured the quantities you need, you shouldn't really be overstocking. Sometimes biostimulants, things like that, they're supplementary products. You need to make sure they add value to what you do. Start off with the fundamental basics. What does your turf need? NPK. How are you going to deliver your plan? The other stuff is the small rocks that go into the bowl around the big ones. So again, do your research. Liquid fertilisers. In the right place, they're great. If you like buying water in the summer, that's great for you. Personally, I use solubles because you know what you're getting in the bag. Certain times of the year, liquids are great in the winter, like potassium nitrate. You know, it won't mix up as easily when it's cold. So maybe a liquid way to go then. There's a value to why you've chosen that product. So look at different aspects of your purchasing. Trace element packages, lots of those. We do use soluble products now that mostly contain trace elements, and if you think back to your early learning with the nutrient bucket and the nutrients falling out, they are trace elements. You know, there's only so much you can put on and the plant will use. What's in a soil analysis? It's a great seminar to go and see. It's really enjoyable. I always enjoy going and seeing Henry Bechelet do it. The thing I would say away from that is a number of times I've seen soil analysis reports pinned up on people's work boards they're trying to work to, rather than using that information to help them make decisions. And almost the fertiliser salesman is driving the fertiliser program. The tail is wagging the dog. As the manager, you've done your work to make sure you're in charge. As I said before, look at your product strength, input, nutrient over area. When you make your comparisons, you know, use those comparison charts. Write down when you spend your money and what you spend it on. It can help you manage unforeseen circumstances. Certain times of the year you may not buy certain products but need to buy others. It helps you do that. Think about directing underspends to where you need to spend money for your customer maybe. Maybe, like last year, a really hot year, we may have missed out a fertiliser application. We may have needed to buy more wetting agent. This is what helps you with the flexibility. But do check it against your plan. Put everything where it should be because it will help you write next year's budget. And it can be as simple as keeping a ledger book. What you buy, what the cost is, what the input is, what part of the budget it goes into. Again, it's an Excel sheet. You can used to buy ledger books in Marks and Sparks or Smiths used to do the big red ledger books. It's really a page from that. Just record everything that you spend in the columns you want to put it in. And lastly, because we're the manager, we need to be independent about looking at our results. Is what we're doing working for us and the customer? There's different measurements we could use. Golf course has got a rating. You know, we're starting to use more technical methods of measuring our success. Doing quality audits is one thing that I've always done. Keeping it simple, give things a score, look at it from a customer's point of view. Communicate your results. It needs to be fairly simple for our members. Set a schedule when you're always going to do it. Involve other people at your club in auditing your results. Set yourself some targets. You can review by using your previous audit. Be objective. The number of times you hear the course is the best it's ever been can be absolute rubbish because you could ask 50 people how good's a golf course, you'll get 50 different answers. But doing a concise audit tells you what the yardstick really is. And you can help it to influence your budget. So again, an audit can be as simple as one of those good old Excel spreadsheets, writing down what areas you're going to look at, how it performs, give it a score. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it doing as well as I want? Has it got a colour coding? If I put that in front of someone new on the Greens Committee, they can look at a traffic light system and go, is it red, yellow, green? Green's good, red's bad. You look at red, you can go, what do I need to focus on? Take pictures. Come up with some agreed actions. It could be short term, it could be stick to my plan, it could be I need to do something slightly different. When am I going to do it by? So again, a quantifiable way of measuring your results and how your budget and your plan is performing for your customer. So like I said, colour-coded, score, go to the same holes. We all have sort of 3 holes that are, one's always in the trees and rubbish, and one's always good. You could drive a tank over the green, and then you'll have one that's probably average. Take pictures, action dates. Yes, you're communicating to people, so keep it simple. Focus on your key things. So hopefully from today, things that, what do we not need to do? By looking at your course, maybe you've decided there are things you don't really need to focus on because of your course type. If you're a pay and play of a certain cost, you're probably going to be hand mowing greens every day. So think about those things you don't need to do. Look at the things you do need to do, and those simple management things, measuring what I need to do, think of my standards, preparing my plan. Review my supplier base, my costs, organise my partners, plan and manage my labour requirements. Hopefully you've got a few ideas for that. Focus on the core things you need to do. They're the basics. Make holes, throw sand on it. That's my message for greenkeeping for the day. Avoid unproven supplementary products if you need to. If they're viable for you and there's a benefit, you work that out. Like I said, I'm a big soluble feeder. It's always worked for me. Purchase what you need, just in time. I know we've heard this topic. It really, really does work. Do not stockpile. It's dead money, dead cash. The product goes off. How many products do you know that it has on the label, protect from frost? How many people do protect ICBUs and 250 litre drums from frost? If they're overwintering it, very few. Next year you come to use it, you have 25% glue, 75% water. It goes off, waste of money. And also that product could be withdrawn. You could be stuck with a product that you may need to get paid to get rid of. Don't get derailed by fads. Every industry has them. You know, we all been through that. It could be various things in the industry. I've been around long enough to see things go round and come back and go round and come back. Sometimes let your plan run. Sometimes you'll get an idea that maybe it's not working, but it's a good idea to find out unless it's something really major that's going wrong. But it does help you work out what is working for you. Do your research on your product. Sometimes do a proper trial. Some companies don't. It's always good to look at companies that run proper trials. It may be replicated on your club if you do the same thing. You are the resource manager. You aren't spending the money at the club. You have a direct effect on their bottom line and their financial success. So that's the role as you go up the ladder. You know, it's very important. You're not only looking after the turf, you are the resource manager of materials, manpower, and money. Some of the things that we may have done over the years, sand top dressing is one that we started doing many, many years ago. Organic compost, we mix our own now rather than getting it mixed. It's a good cost-saving exercise. If you mix your own, you get your own proportions that you need. Grass seed, I always tend to look at a little bit like mobile phones. Do you need the latest model? Because last year's model is probably really good as well. Costs you slightly less. If it was good enough last year, it might be good enough this year. Overseeding greens, is it worth it? As we've often said, get the environmental factors right. Grass quality and species will follow. I think someone once said to me, it's like trying to put penguins in the desert or growing palm trees at the South Pole. Unless you've got the conditions right first, you're going to be wasting your product. So hopefully we can take away today maintenance plan, better idea of our budget, man-hour study, how to purchase, maybe putting together a little tendering exercise for our suppliers, identify what we really want to use by working out what the nutrient input is and the cost to get a good comparison of the products we want to use. Meet the expectations of our customer. Yes, those golfers are customers. Sometimes what's important to them may not be quite as important to you, but ultimately they are the customer. They're not always right, we know that, but they are a customer and they pay the money. Can we mow less grass at our golf club? Certainly environmentally, are there ways and means of having less areas to mow? There's another way maybe of saving yourself some money. Communicate your results, whether you're doing an audit, writing longhand reports for your club, but it helps you with your and your club's planning. So as the manager, showing that we're in control. I always used to like this slide. What do my friends think? I think I asked, when we was on holiday many years ago, my nephew wondered what we did all day, but we said, no, what does Uncle Simon do? He's in the RAF. Oh, he flies planes all day. Never been a plane in his life. What does Uncle Paul do? He plays golf all day. I hate playing golf and I don't play golf very often. But that's the perception that maybe people have. Obviously the owner or the members always think we just spend loads of cash. They often think we can do absolutely anything and everything. The pro probably thinks we do that all day and we think he sells Mars bars, but surely he does something else. And there's what I actually do. You guys are here today, learning and reviewing products and gathering sort of this experience together. So, we're professional people that are managing a business. So finally, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Sometimes with your plan and your budget, you've got a goal that you stick to, that you're working to. It's very, very easy to always want to do lots more. We'd all love our courses to be like Augusta, but that comes, as we know, with a price. And sometimes trying to achieve those additional things puts extra pressure and stress on us as a person, our budget, and our resources. So once you've got your plan that suits your club, trying to stick to that. It's a fantastic baseline. Stick to the plan. You made it, take ownership of it, monitor it, evaluate it, use your systems and put trust in yourself. Don't get derailed. Fads, techniques, products, snake oils. What goes around comes around. I'm sure they'll come around again. When the Graydon came out, everyone wanted to go off Graydon greens. To me, that was just deep scarifying. It had been here before, just come round again. Evaluate and review your program. Bring all the threads together. Helps your budgets, your records. Before starting anew every year, have a proper review. Look yourself in the mirror. Did that work? Would I do it differently? It's great to be honest with yourself. And if you've got those systems in place, and you've got a plan, you've got your budget, it's the core thing that maybe you can rely on. Whenever everything else may be not going to plan, it's the one thing you can maybe fall back on that just helps you as a stable rock in your business. Things can go wrong, but hopefully, because you've got your basics planned, when the brown sticky stuff does happen, and you're only going to go out and help hopefully build that small T, and it can go horribly wrong, the other bits of your budget and your plan are working for you. Thank you very much.